Hello and welcome to the Crafter's Toolbox. Today I wanted to share with you a way that you can turn any stamp set into a rotating stamp set. Now you may be familiar with stamps that come from Concord and Ninth. They're called Turnabout stamps. And basically you put the stamp in place and you turn your cardstock 90 degrees and you stamp it 4 times and it ends up um, filling in the entire pattern. Well, I really like this idea, but I have stamp sets from other companies that I really would like to do the same thing with. So I devised a way that I can do that using just a few simple tools. I'll be using my stamp positioner and a piece of plastic that I've set up with a grid and some Memento ink and my stamps. And here's 2 samples that I've done so far. So this one uses the Way Too Sweet stamp set from altenew, and this one is the Garden Grow stamp set from also from altenew. And they're really a ton of fun. You can make them with just about any stamp set. Some will be more exciting than others, just depending on the pieces in the stamps, but they could be geometric, they could have images like these, they could be words, just about anything will work for um, this technique. So let's get to how we're going to do that. And I wanted to show you a few samples of what they look like. So this is basically a template that I've decided is a good template, and that's the one that makes this card here. And what I've done is when I finish a template, I stamp it out like this so that way I can reset a stamp set anytime I want to create the finished uh, rotating style. So you can see that looks the same all the way around. It will always have kind of a geometric look because you are moving the stamps all the way around. Here's another one that I did with the same stamp set. And this is what that looks like in the end. The reason why I ended up redoing it is because I realized that most of the time I do 4¼ by 5½ cards. And this original one was designed more to be a 6x6. So a lot of the pieces got cut off and it didn't really look as nice as this does when I have the full cupcake and the full popsicle and things like that. So I redid it to make that work a little better. And that's the beauty of this process is that you can try and try again until you get something that you like, and maybe you even have more than one. So here's some that use the Sokotoa and the other geometric set from altenew. And you can combine sets together and come up with all sorts of fun things. And here's the last one that I have that I've done so far. This is the Garden Grow set. And you can see what that ends up looking like. Isn't that fun? So let me show you how easy this is to do. So I'm going to use my stamp positioner and I'm going to start off with this piece of plastic. Now this is just kind of a heavier weight plastic. You can use a window sheet that would work just fine or any scrap acetate that you have. But what I recommend is that you cut it down to a square size. This happens to be 5½ by 5½. You could do 6x6, that would work as well. And what I did is on the back side, I used a Sharpie marker to make this grid, which is really essential to making sure that like exactly how everything is going to show up in each quadrant. And then I also recently added in these green lines here to make this 4¼ from this space here. So this would be 4¼ by 5½. And that helped me to create this one. So that way I knew exactly what was going to get cut off when I cut it down to the card base size. Okay, so I'm just going to put this right in my stamp positioner. And I'm just going to do a little example here so you can get the hang of it. And then we're going to go ahead. I'm going to show you how I set one up when it's finished. So I just start with one stamp. And where do I think I want that stamp to go? So let's say I want the stamp to go here. So I grab it with my positioner. And you notice I don't even have my magnets out right now. And that's because I'm going to stamp this up with some Memento ink. You can use any water-based ink. I prefer water-based because if I have to start over again, it's easy to clean it up. So I'm just going to rotate this piece of acetate all the way around. And just make sure I get it in the corner every time. Okay, so now I know that this piece here, that's where it's going to go. And so this helps me to understand how a stamp or how the pattern works. So that way, like if I said, oh, I want this one to go over here, if I hadn't had this all stamped out, I would have overlap, and I don't really want overlap. So I'm going to kind of align this one up on this angle here. And this will make the cupcake go around the center. So again, I just take my memento and I ink up just the new stamp. The old one doesn't need any more ink on it. And I go around. And set up my template. There we go. Then I keep adding stamps in. Okay, so at this point, now I feel like I've got a pretty good pattern going. So the next thing I want to do is space all of these out so that they end up in various places, like so. And the reason why is because if I am going to do a full page stamp like this, I may want to do it in multiple colors. So if I keep all of them bunched up in one corner, then one corner would be one color, one corner would be another color, another color, another color. And that might be something that an effect that you want, and you could set it up like that later. But I recommend setting it up in kind of a random pattern so that way you get a good disbursement of 4 various colors if you choose to do that kind of stamping in the future with this particular layout. So I just go ahead and take these guys and put them back down, working to align them kind of carefully here. This one actually is going to stay right in place. But this guy I think I'm going to put over here. And the other two can stay in place as well. So let me just re-grab those. Actually, now that I'm looking at it, I'm going to move this guy here. So you can see it really doesn't take that many stamps to make a really fun pattern. Okay, so now that I have them all in place, I'm basically done with this piece. And I'm going to move in a piece of just scrap vanilla, and I will put a magnet down. And I just ink this up again and give it a go. So there's one. And of course, now that we're doing paper, it's absorbing the ink. I have to re-ink every time. You can do this in 4 different colors at this point, so that way you know what it's going to look like when you've done your setup. So that's what it will look like when you have finished stamping it. And then I always do my guide on the other side, so that way I know how to set it up in the future. All right, and there it is. So that is as simple as that. And I'm going to just clean these up real quick. So if I ever wanted to use this design again, I just save this piece and I might write on here what stamp set it came from. And then I can, put all my stamps away, not have to worry about it, blah, blah, blah. And I come back another day and, oh, I want to do this. I want to do this one. So I can put it in any direction I want. I put down my template and I just go ahead and line up my stamps. Generally, they don't need to be perfection. Just pop them right in place over their silhouette here. Like so. I grab them with this and I'm ready to stamp. So if I, for some reason, if I wanted to, usually what I do is I go back and I use a full 5.5 by 5.5 sheet in here to do the main stamping, and then I cut it down. If for some reason I'm starting with a 4.25 by 5.5 sheet, what I would do is take this clean without any of my design on it. like so. I know this is not quite the right size, but say this was the sheet that I wanted to use, I would use a dot adhesive, a temporary dot adhesive, and just stick it right on my template exactly where I wanted it to go. And then now that this is set up, I move this out of the place, and then I can use this to do my stamping all the way around. So that is how I make a rotating stamp out of any stamp set. I hope you enjoyed this fun technique and that you give it a try sometime soon. Don't forget to post it out on my Facebook page because I'd love to see what you do, or hashtag it with PM Retreat and I'll find you out there in social media land. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and join me again for more in the Crafter's Toolbox. Until next time, happy crafting.